Hello.
Welcome
to FDI Takeover. I'm your host, Alex Smith.
I'm your other host, Karen Ryan.
And we are
FDI Takeover. Like two little angels.
I wonder if anybody likes that.
I know, but we had already asked for people that might want to give us a jingle, so we're open up to that. You can email us at fditakeoverpodcast@gmail.com and keep that email for any topics or things that you'd like to speak to us directly. Today, we're going to be talking about intimacy issues, covering all types of things.
Literally my worst nightmare.
And it is literally one of the favorite things I like to talk about. So a little bit of our differences. However, this is going to be really good. We're going to hit the note on a lot of things here today. So,
all right, I'll introduce myself first
Go
for anybody
first.
who's tuning in for the very first time on intimacy issues. Hi, my name is Alex. I have intimacy issues. No, I do. But I am an entrepreneur. I work in high growth technology startups. I do yoga, breathwork, meditation, retreats are things that I'm really passionate about. We are doing this podcast to provide a lens of mental health advocacy. We are regular human beings here just trying to make it by, just like all of you. And I'm just really grateful for everyone who continues to follow us. So if you're not already liking or subscribing our YouTube channel, please make sure you do, and we appreciate you so much. Karen?
yes. I'm going to piggyback off that. We actually have a TikTok as well and an Instagram at FDI Takeover. I am a serial entrepreneur. I've been working for myself for a very long time, multiple businesses in multiple facets. I am a mother of 4. I am actually going to say this out loud. I'm writing my book, and it will be published this year, 2023.
Yes.
It's not going to be your typical book with chapters. It's going to be something that's going to hit lots of different points in life that are going to help people feel more comfortable of it's not just you. We've all almost been there. We have come together with FDI to provide, as Alex said, a platform, but for those who are seeking mental health awareness and advocacy. And if you don't have channels or the help that you need, maybe due to lack of funds or no insurance, reach out to us because we do have many different avenues that we can send you through. And I, too, am a yoga meditation instructor, where I have held my business in the wellness space for over 8 years, bringing people to this present moment, just body movement, spirituality, breathing. We don't do enough breathing, so I'm an expert in breathing exercises as well. I'm excited to talk about this intimacy issue because I do believe it begins with ourselves, and it actually starts at birth. When you're born and you enter this wonderful, beautiful world, you are put in the arms of either a nurse, a doctor, or directly to your mother, or maybe somebody else is holding you. And from that moment, we take our first breath. We have got to understand the human touch on us and what does that mean. So intimacy starts from birth, okay, and entering into the world. And as we're raised by our parents who are doing the absolute best that they can in any situation, there's trust issues, but we want to be so close to somebody because our most valued feeling in this world that we all have is to be loved and to absolutely be loved by somebody. So it's not about proving yourself, but it's about opening yourself up on an intimate level of letting your heart shine and not be afraid. And when we live in fear, it holds us back so much. So intimacy is the combination of allowing yourself to be so close to somebody and trust them.
I love that. I recently have been learning a lot actually about this particular area. I have a business coach right now, and big shout out to her. She's amazing. If anybody's looking for a kick-ass business coach, I've got you. Sometimes there's times where you want to go to therapy if you have access and affordability, like we talked about, to therapy. For me right now, I put a pause on the deep trauma work, and I'm going more on the business coaching side and getting someone to really pump me up and help me notice all the green flags in my life and in others. But to circle back to what you were saying, attachment styles. So how this relates to intimacy, there are 3 different attachment styles that I've been learning about that you can also learn yourself, which are secure attachment styles, anxious avoidant, and avoidant attachment styles. All of these 3 things, to Karen's point, were developed at a very young age, and how we were treated literally from our parents and what our default mode of operating is. And some of us find a lot of comfort in partners who respond right away, who communicate with us directly. Those are secure. And then obviously we have people who are avoidant, that very much avoid difficult conversations and avoid relationships and intimacy when things are really difficult. And then anxious, which is obviously, to speak on its own, when people just have an overwhelming amount of feeling that they avoid the situation. So, with that being said, I've been learning that I have a secure attachment style and how that relates to the intimacy that I'm attracted to. And I'm really curious to continue to learn about that. And I'm also realizing I also need to be with someone who has a secure attachment style, because from an intimacy perspective, the most important thing that I am now attracted to, 33 years old, is consistency. It's something that's really important for me. I can't necessarily bring myself to a place of intimacy if I don't feel like this person is able to be consistent and make me feel secure.
Wow. Wow. That's very important. And that's an enlightening thing that you're saying, Alex. You understand that. And that's what you want. And that's,
for sure,
that's a good positive demand of what you're looking for in a partner. I can say that through my experience, I've been with the avoidant. What did you call it? Avoidant?
It's avoidant style, and then anxious avoidant.
Anxious avoidant. So for most of my life, I was very anxious and just hypersensitive, very anxious, and then avoidant as soon as that conflict came through, and then would not allow myself to be intimate with family or with friends. And especially in a romantic relationship, it was very scary for me, and I would just be somebody else that I wasn't, just to please that person. So I've learned not to do that. For me, it is about somebody being available to me right now. I'm looking in a relationship, an intimate relationship, for availability. If I call you, text you, reach out to you, I expect a response back, because I don't want to feel that I'm not important enough to be that person that you can come to and that I can go to as well, regardless of how busy you are. That today's world, people are just so busy. Everything's going on. We're all busy, but to avoid somebody and not give them that availability of communication, to me, is huge. Also, I have come to learn that in an intimate situation, you're allowing yourself to be truly who your soul is. You're allowing your soul to open up to other people. And if you get kind of if you got a ding in your car or something like that, you feel a little bit dinged with your personality, or you feel dinged with your heart, or there's some kind of something that's coming at you that's feeling am I being too open? Am I being too intimate with this person? But not allowing yourself to, not let yourself just be. Sometimes you just really have to allow yourself to be. Intimacy just doesn't mean in sexuality. Intimacy means in your conversations. It means in who you are allowing yourself to be, your true self. Intimacy is getting so close to somebody that you're trusting them and they're trusting you. And I think that's a big subject we could talk about, the trust.
Yes, I think a lot of people have challenges with that. I know I do at this point in time. I feel like after my last relationship of being with someone for close to 4 years, it has been difficult for me to be intimate with others that I am not necessarily vibing with on this new version of myself. So this is a new kind of level for me to realize that, when it comes to sexuality, I can't even begin to bring myself there if there's not an emotional or intellectual stimulation. And so, and also I'm realizing we're going to go there here pretty soon. Hormones. I recently went to get some of my hormones checked because I'm very curious and very into wealth. I'm into that too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Me too. Wealth too. But
both.
Wellness. We're both wellness.
Exactly.
Gurus. Yeah.
And so there's an amazing doctor down here, Dr. Silva with Silva Wellness Center. And I just got tested for all of my hormones.
Wow.
And what came back is that I had literally almost no estrogen, which was interesting. And I had a little bit of testosterone. And they were saying that the healthiest way that you can be is balance between both testosterone and estrogen. So even if I was sexually active right now and dating, like I wouldn't be able to get pregnant right now because there's not enough estrogen. But just having that experience and being enlightened. And my number one question to him was, doc, I'm not necessarily sexually active right now. I'm not dating at the moment in time. Would this sort of thing like potentially affect my libido? And he said, yeah, no, totally. But this can be solved. Like we can give you a hormone for more estrogen and then you would be surprised. And I was like, oh, I wonder if that's like, I don't know if that has anything to do with me feeling or not feeling intimate with people, but it could be. And it's just something that I'm learning about right now.
You just opened up a beautiful can of worms I like to speak about because I've been in the wellness space for so long. I have some amazing supplement companies I work with that help balance your hormones naturally. However, men tend to think, and I've been told this by several men, I'm too hormonal. Well, guess what, guys? You have hormones too. So you need to get your hormones checked. You also need to know what blood type you are. It's very important because what you are feeding your body is obviously feeding your first brain, your gut, and then feeding your brain.
Yes.
And if things are out of whack and they're not all working together synergistically, which is never going to be perfect, we can get close to equalizing, the different spaces in your body that need attention. Hormone check is really great. After the age of 25, you start to lose collagen, but at the age of 30, your hormones start to tweak in men and women. So that's a beautiful thing that you're doing for yourself at this point in your life, preparing yourself for your wellness overall for, upcoming, years to come. Also, I just want to put a quick little tips, getting a little off the subject, but working out and lifting weights is so important because you have to give a lot of focus in on your bones and your joints, especially over the age of 25, so that you can prevent injury and disease later on in life. Hormone check is huge. That then plays into your intimacy because if things are kind of off kilter, it's going to affect your emotions.
Libido, confidence.
Oh, absolutely.
Health.
Let me tell you, in some intimate
reducing stress to allow yourself to be able to relax in situations, to be intimate with others.
Absolutely. And when it
Very important.
It is. And when it comes to your sexual health or your, sexual activity, if somebody's hormones are off or you're feeling low confidence, the performance isn't going to be exactly what they want it to be in that moment. And it's okay. I believe the most personal intimacy you can have with another person, especially in a sexual situation, is holding hands, holding each other, being open with conversation. Intellectual stimulation is also huge with me. I've never been one for what somebody looks like on the outside, although I used to be tended to be attracted to a certain type of male. Now it's all about the intellect and how I can feel your heart and how kind and respectful you are and what can I offer you to fill in those little gaps and what can you offer me. It's very, very important, especially when there's so much trust. The intimacy is easy and everything just kind of synergistically works together because it's effortless, it's natural, and that's the way it's supposed to be. But if we're not working on ourselves in all aspects, what we're eating, what we're putting in our body, what we're doing with our mindsets, then how can we be at that point where we're going to be so efficient to be intimate with somebody else?
I love what you said, and it reminds me of the differences also between having intimacy challenges when you're single and intimacy challenges when you're in a relationship. They both exist, right? I mean, we've all been in relationships where we were so enamored with that person at the very beginning, and even like from sexuality to experiences to all of the feelings that come with craving and desiring and loving and wanting and experiencing that on many different physical, spiritual, emotional planes. And then also when you're single, when you go through all, you have this opportunity, like when you're single, to have this moment to say, okay, how can I redefine this whole thing? What does Alex want? Where do I see myself? Who is that person that I see myself in? We have the opportunity to get really clear on that. But with that comes a hard line in the sand of what we don't want to do anymore. So, sometimes we can think by putting that line in the sand and really stepping up for like what we know that we deserve, we think we can have those moments of self-doubt creep in, like, wow, I'm not necessarily just like, being with anybody anymore. I'm a lot more mindful about that. And while that's a good thing, we can't help but to ask ourselves sometimes, like, wait, like what, why am I not in this place where I was as maybe free or as open as I was before? So I think it's pros and cons in the way that you look at it, but it can be a little tricky.
Yeah, it's very tricky. And I do believe, especially after a breakup, in any situation or a divorce, in my case, time alone, time in solitude, and time being by yourself. Many people are afraid to be by themselves. So they'll go
That is intimacy.
It's huge intimacy because you're intimate with yourself. You're spending time in this space of learning who you are and finding yourself. That's the true intimacy, because when you're working on you and when you are feeling your very best for you, and you're going to have your ups and downs, and I'm telling you, getting to know yourself is the most beautiful thing. And I'm very grateful for where I'm at now. Having gone through divorce and raising my children by myself, I wasn't necessarily alone, but I was sleeping by myself now. I didn't have anybody sleeping with me. I didn't have anybody coming home specifically for me. And I had to get into this routine of who's Karen, which I did lose for a while there, being a mom and being a business, leader. And now I look at intimacy for oneself. Whether you have children or not, whether you've ever been married or not, went through a breakup, or maybe you've never even been in a relationship, being by yourself and getting to know yourself on a true intimate level is prepping you, right, for being the best version of what you desire, what you require, what you want, and drawing that fine line in the sand of what you will not tolerate, because those reflections reflect on you, and those are your values.
Beautiful. I love that so much. That was words of encouragement for me, as I feel I'm going through this process now where I'm looking at things about what I feel that I deserve. What do I feel that I need? What is this person? What is this clear understanding? And with my business coach right now, we've been talking about rewiring the way that we look at people. And I love this exercise. So I think that we can all get into a place, even with our partners, if we've been with them for a long time, we notice everything they're doing wrong. Red flag, red flag, red flag. Or when we're in a certain type of mood. I was in a space where literally I was scrutinizing everything that came out of this other person's mouth. I was like, wrong, not correct, not right. It's such a terrible place to be. And when it comes to the dating world too, you don't want to approach the dating world either as, I see this person and red flag, red flag, red flag, right? My business coach told me, Alex, you were doing it all wrong. What are your green flags? And I said, that's a good question. I guess I should figure it out. And she had me make a list of 100 things that I was looking for in a partner. And she told me to be as specific as possible. And once you go through those first 50, smart, kind, intelligent, whatever, the beautiful, fit, all those things that we probably all would put as our first 20 or 50, I started to get really specific like she asked. And there was a couple things that really jumped out to me that were so important to me.
What were they?
The things that were really important to me, first and foremost, was to be with someone who's not aggressive, who doesn't handle difficult situations with violence or aggression. And that is very triggering for me from my childhood trauma. So that was a big one. When it came to the 100, that was one that really stood out to me. The other one was romantic and adventurous. I need to be with someone who's willing to do spontaneous things and be adventurous. The other one that really stuck out to me as well was someone who is also as independent as me. And what was beautiful about that is that she said, Alex, someone who's looking for you is probably coming from a place where they wish that they had more freedom, that more trust, or is coming from a relationship where they didn't have that, and you're willing to give that to them. I said, yeah, cool. I'll see you, in a couple weeks, or I'll see you on the other side of the world, or let's do something fun. But basically, the moral of the story is to identify the green flags in people. And now that I know how to identify green flags, I think it's going to help me be a lot more intimate right up front, because I know that the person that I'm speaking with is meaning the things that I'm looking for, which allow me to feel comfortable to open up.
Exactly. And in a safe space.
Safe space.
Safe space. So I'm going back to my children here for a moment, raising them and talking to them about sex and intimacy and on a sexual level, and partners. I always said you always want to feel safe and you want to be with somebody that you've been with for a while. And in today's society and in the dating world, and I've come across it way too much, people they want the now. Okay. So having sex with somebody or sexual, moment, it is very intimate. But when you don't know the other person well enough, you're putting yourself out there just, for the act of doing, if this makes sense. And I'm getting really raw here, and just for that feeling in the moment. But there's so much more romanticism and so much more intimacy when you give somebody the time to get to know you, and you get give them the time to get to know them. Sorry, tongue twisted there, but it's true. It's like not going right for that type of intimacy, but the intimacy of allowing someone else to tell you their story. And when someone speaks of their story, you can relate to it, or maybe it's something that you've never been through, but you're getting to know them. And that's the intimate part of conversation. That's the intimate part of giving somebody an opportunity to be in a safe space and to talk about what's on their mind. And then you can look at the green flags of what's being spoken. And then maybe there might be some red flags that you notice that that person hasn't worked on. And maybe that's something you're not willing to open up to. But everything starts with, allowing this intimacy, which can be a scary word. But if you don't start on that foundation, you're starting on a foundation of just, avoidance. And we don't want to avoid those. We want to be open and clear getting to know somebody.
Yes, and the other thing that I'm learning as well is about operating in the gray area. So my default mode of operating is most of the time wanting to reach a conclusion pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So it feels as though sometimes I just either want to know, like, are we giving this a shot and getting to know each other, or are we not? But the thing is that most great things, is what I'm learning, is operate in the gray area for a period of time.
I'm going to bring this up, and this is a conversation that you and I had. Alex and I are very close, and we have our differences in the way we approach things, but we don't hold back on anything with each other. We're very open and truthful. And I think it was about a month ago, was I speaking to you or texting you, and you had texted back? That's really passive aggressive.
Oh, it was a voice note. We were texting, and then you sent me a voice note, and then
you wrote back passive aggressive. So I took my phone. I was like, not passive aggressive. And then I reread that, and I reread the tone that I had written it in. I didn't mean it intentionally to be passive aggressive, but that is something I've been working on for quite some time. Instead of being so quiet, and then all of a sudden, I go from 0 to 10 million in a second, and I go right for the jugular in a lot of conversations. And when she called me out on that, as my friend, as my sister, as somebody I respect very much, that made me look inside myself intimately, where I'm coming from, and I've been working on that. So I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. It was all from a place of how you felt that I was speaking to, and transmitting those words and those actions and those feelings that made me stop and think, she's right. This is something that felt that way, and I didn't want to come off like that, but that's a default of mine, of something that I had to work on. So I appreciate that. But when you have an intimate friendship and an intimate conversation, you can trust somebody, you can tell them anything. Again, teaching me something that I need to learn about myself, and vice versa.
Yes. Thanks for bringing that up. It wasn't an easy thing to do either.
No,
it
was
because
I got chills. It was a little difficult.
It was difficult for both of us too, because there's a person giving and receiving on both ends, and we have a very close relationship. We are very intimate in our business partnership and our friendship, and to mix those two things is also like a total blessing, skill set, but something that we also have to work on. It's not rainbows and sunshine every single day, but through addressing things head on, we're able to overcome these things and also challenge ourselves to be better. And it was important I think, to acknowledge the framework that I used for that, because I didn't just say, Karen, you're passive aggressive, right? Because when someone is in a place and you just go and say that, it can be received as an attack. But the way that I framed it was, Karen, I know it is not your intention. I know that you probably totally are not trying to come off this way at all. But I just wanted to let you know that the way that you just communicated to me was landed as passive aggressive, and I love you. And, I obviously hope that everything's okay, but I just wanted to let you know. But I know you weren't trying to be mean, and that was disarming. And it is about how you frame it too. Yeah. And so I think just a good framework to use is, I know it's not your intention, but before we give anybody feedback, we have to actually know that and approach the situation with compassion, because when you're approaching a situation with compassion, it breaks down the wall that we all build when we are receiving things that we are doing wrong. No one likes to receive negative feedback of where we need to improve. Like, let's just call it what it is.
Yes, the negative.
And everyone gets really sensitive about having communications around sex. I'm stressed.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm in the mood, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people struggle with this.
Oh, so happy you brought that up.
We're going there.
We're going there because if you're not in the mood to just, physically be
Like emotionally or even physically available.
You could have the worst day and you're emotionally not available. Going into that intimate space of sex, you're not going to be 100%. So you're going to hold back on something. And then the other person's going to feel that emotion and that energy coming from you. And they're going to think they're doing something wrong or they're not pleasing you. You're not pleasing them. And it could be as simple as holding hands and kissing or just holding hands and being with somebody in any type of intimate way, sexually, whatever that means to you. We become so sensitive in that moment because we want to do our very best to feel good for ourselves and we want that other person to feel good. But if you're not on that same level and intellectually intimate with somebody, then there's going to be some bad feelings there, and then you're going to hold back and, not be so open with your conversation and your verbiage with the other person and allowing them to know exactly where you're coming from. And respect. You need to respect somebody. If you're in a situation that is intimate and someone says, I'm not really in the mood, it's not you, but I've had quite the day, a hug, holding hands, a shoulder, to lean on is so important. And that's still being very intimate and having that conversation and listening to someone and giving them a listening ear. That's intimate because they're in a safe space of just being themselves and trusting you. And that's a big difference. It's taken me quite some time to learn that, and I can be the best mom, I can be the best friend, I can be the educator, the teacher, but to actually take that and apply it to myself, I saw many red flags for a long time, and now I see the side of the green flag and how it could be and what I won't tolerate anymore, because I do know my worth. I know that I am worthy of what I put into a relationship. I'm worthy of the intimacy that I'm willing to put out, and that same intimacy come back. And again, effortlessly, not working to change another person, not looking to teach them, but kind of coming to this mutual of a little bit of giving and receiving.
I love that. And we all have different things that make us feel safe. Like for me, it's security. Right? So being with someone that is admirable, respectable, that can show that consistency for me makes me feel secure. And I think just learning those things about yourself in the way in which that I'm commuting now, like I for sure know this, right? A lot of people just don't know yet. I didn't know until I really started doing some of these exercises and starting to get really clear on the type of things that I receive well and vice versa. So I think it's an intimacy journey with yourself. It's an intimacy journey in the partners that you're choosing to invest time with. Planting seeds, I think being comfortable operating in the gray area, not necessarily needing things to be black and white and reach a resolution right away, but, learning how to be comfortable in this area where you're getting to know each other and taking time to understand each other's needs. It's not something that is the most comfortable for me. Other people are, but I think that with all of these different things, it can help bridge these gaps. Karen, last question I want to ask you before we wrap up this topic is, do you think that there's any specific differences between intimacy issues that maybe men have versus women?
Absolutely, because again, men and women are made differently, not equal. And for men, intimacy issues for a man wants to come in as a protector. Okay, men have like this protection and this providing about them, and it goes all the way back to caveman days. He's a protector, he's a provider. The woman, is like the nurturer, the one that holds the family together. She's the spine of the family or whatever. And if there aren't any children in the relationship, it's still women are, offer that nurturing and men have that. Huge intimacy issues because for women, and this is regardless of what sexuality you are and in anything, women tend to give themselves openly. And then when there's that disattachment from a man that you've maybe spent some time with, went on a date, went to dinner, had sex with him and, or whatever, your preference is, and then they leave. Women feel like that plug has been pulled away. Like we want so much more. That's just how we're built. That's like the hormones, the essence of who a woman is. We want more. We don't like that you're away and now what, right? And men, they finish the job, things are done, and it's okay. Now they're going to go to work, go golfing, whatever. And I've experienced this, and it's okay. It's natural, guys. But the intimacy for a man and woman completely different. But I will tell you one thing that is equal. mutual respect, mutual communication, mutual safety, mutuality and wanting to be heard, and mutuality and knowing that that other person is there for you. So those are some things that might sound really simple, but they're really deep. And when it comes to intimacy, it is the mutual respect between two people to spend that time of quality and getting to know someone. And if it isn't happening, I like when you brought up the quality of, and the time that you're spending with someone. If it isn't happening, it isn't happening. My therapist literally told me 12 dates before you have anything sexual with the person. 12. She goes, if you can get through 12 times of being with somebody, then go for it. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's kind of long. But I started thinking about it. There's a lot of different things you can do in between that to get to know somebody. And if
believe it or not.
and if you go out with me 12 times and not be too intimate, you might be the one for me. So I'm open for that. There's a lot of things I like to do. Axe throwing, sky, diving. Let's go work out in the gym. Let's go cooking, whatever. But if you can, she said 12 times, and it's a known fact, and it's been a trial period where they actually did a trial on people that went out on 12 dates before they were actually intimate. It can either bring you closer or further apart. Because the truth is, we all think intimacy is sexuality, but intimacy is on so many different levels, and it begins with respect and trust.
I love it.
Yeah.
I hope everybody enjoyed this episode.
Yes.
Thank you so much for tuning in to FDI, and drop some comments. We would love to hear what you thought about this particular episode. And
yeah, absolutely. And we were talking about it. And you can drop comments here for us as well, or on our Instagram or TikTok. But for anybody who has something that's maybe a little bit more personal or held back that you want to reach out to us, go ahead and email us at fditakeoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's also a safe space for you too, to give us feedback or something that you want to hear about, or if you're looking for any kind of help on any platform, we're here to help you.
Peace and love.
Love you all.
Until next time.
Bye.